Hello, Smart Garden family. If you've been wrestling with stubborn weeds while simultaneously struggling to build healthy, productive soil, I'm about to flip your perspective completely. What if those persistent plants you've been yanking out are actually the most effective soil regeneration crew you could ever hope for? Today we're exploring 5 common garden weeds that aren't just edible. They're powerful soil architects capable of outperforming many traditional cover crops when it comes to rebuilding structure, cycling nutrients, and supporting the microbial communities that make everything else possible. Many of these persistent plants possess traits that most cultivated crops simply don't have: taproots that penetrate compacted hardpan, the ability to accumulate trace minerals from deep soil layers, rapid biomass production that feeds soil organisms, and the remarkable capacity to pull nitrogen directly from the air. These aren't invasive nuisances, they're nature's response to degraded soil, arriving precisely when and where they're needed most. Plantain, the compaction breaker. Broadleaf and narrowleaf plantain are among the most underappreciated soil engineers in any garden. When you spot plantain establishing itself, you're looking at a plant specifically adapted to break through compacted, poorly aerated soil. The impressive taproot doesn't just survive in compressed earth, it actively fractures it, creating channels that allow water infiltration, oxygen exchange, and pathways for subsequent plant roots to follow. Beyond its structural contributions, plantain functions as a biological mineral elevator. Those deep roots access calcium, magnesium, iron, and numerous trace minerals from soil layers far below where most annual crops feed. As plantain leaves die back or get cut, these accumulated nutrients return to the topsoil where shallow-rooted vegetables can access them. The leaves themselves are completely edible, offering a mild, slightly earthy flavor perfect for fresh salads or medicinal teas. When plantain appears in abundance, it's often signaling low calcium availability and compacted conditions, precisely the problems this plant evolved to address. Clover, nature's nitrogen factory. White and red clover deserve recognition as legitimate rivals to expensive cover crop seed. These low-growing legumes form partnerships with rhizobia bacteria in their root nodules, converting atmospheric nitrogen into plant-available forms through biological fixation. The nitrogen produced doesn't just benefit the clover, it becomes available to every plant growing nearby as roots shed and nodules break down. This living fertilizer factory operates continuously throughout the growing season, manufacturing free nutrients while you focus on other garden tasks. The secondary benefits are equally impressive. A dense clover mat functions as living mulch, moderating soil temperature extremes and protecting moisture levels during hot weather. The soil surface beneath established clover remains cooler and more consistently moist than bare ground, creating ideal conditions for earthworms and beneficial microorganisms. The abundant flowers provide sustained nectar resources for pollinators, while the tender young leaves and flowers are completely edible with a pleasant, mild sweetness. Chickweed, the rapid biomass builder. Chickweed might seem insignificant with its delicate appearance, but this diminutive plant punches far above its weight in soil improvement. Few plants produce biomass as rapidly as chickweed, creating abundant green material that can be chopped down repeatedly throughout the season to add organic matter directly to the soil surface. This constant input feeds soil organisms, supports fungal networks, and gradually builds humus content, the stable organic matter fraction that determines long-term soil fertility. The shallow fibrous root mat that chickweed develops protects bare soil from erosion, maintains consistent moisture levels, and provides constant carbon exudates that feed bacterial populations. Chickweed also demonstrates impressive mineral accumulation, particularly of calcium, potassium, and various micronutrients. As a bonus, this entire plant is edible with a fresh, slightly sweet flavor that makes it an excellent salad base. The tender stems and leaves are remarkably nutritious, containing vitamins A, C, several B vitamins and minerals that reflect the plant's bioaccumulation abilities. Purslane represents an entirely different soil-building strategy. This succulent ground cover thrives in conditions that would stress most garden plants: poor, dry, compacted soil with intense heat exposure. Rather than simply tolerating these harsh conditions, purslane actively improves them. The thick spreading stems create a living shield that protects soil from direct sun exposure, dramatically reducing surface temperatures and evaporation rates. When purslane biomass is cut and left as chop-and-drop mulch, it decomposes into excellent organic matter that improves soil structure. The succulent tissues break down relatively quickly, releasing accumulated nutrients and feeding microbial populations. From a nutritional standpoint, purslane is extraordinary. It contains some of the highest levels of omega-3 fatty acids found in any terrestrial plant, along with substantial vitamins A, C, and various minerals. The crisp, slightly tangy leaves and stems are delicious raw in salads or lightly cooked. Dandelion. The deep mining specialist. Dandelions have earned their reputation as persistent garden residents through sheer effectiveness. That famously stubborn taproot makes them valuable soil engineers. Dandelion roots can penetrate 18 inches or deeper, breaking through compacted layers and hardpan that prevent water infiltration and limit root development for other plants. As these roots push downward, they create permanent channels that improve drainage and aeration long after the plant itself is gone. The mineral accumulation capacity of dandelions is, honestly, pretty remarkable. Those deep roots access calcium, potassium, magnesium, iron, copper, and numerous trace elements from subsoil layers, concentrating them in the plant tissues. When dandelion leaves die back, or are harvested, these nutrients return to the topsoil where shallow-rooted annuals can access them. Every part of the dandelion is edible. Young leaves provide bitter greens packed with vitamins. Flowers can be made into wine or fritters, and roots can be roasted for a caffeine-free coffee substitute. Dandelions also provide essential early-season nectar for pollinators, emerging from winter. Why do these weeds outperform traditional cover crops? Well, the advantages these volunteer soil improvers hold over deliberately planted cover crops are substantial. They require absolutely no input from the gardener, no purchasing seed, no soil preparation, no planting labor, no irrigation during establishment. They simply arrive when conditions suit them and immediately begin their work. Most of these plants are perennials or persistent self-seeders that return year after year, creating a self-renewing soil improvement system that just compounds benefits over time. Many of these plants actually demonstrate superior bioaccumulation abilities compared to, common cover crops. Their extended growing seasons and persistent root systems mean they're actively mining minerals, feeding soil microbes, and cycling nutrients for much longer than a buckwheat or oat cover crop. The constant root activity maintains active mycorrhizal networks and keeps bacterial populations thriving, creating soil biology that benefits every subsequent crop. Learning to work with these plants rather than against them really requires a shift in perspective. When a particular weed appears in abundance, it's often indicating a specific soil imbalance. Plantain signals compaction and low calcium, while clover appearance often means nitrogen deficiency. Rather than viewing these plants as problems, try to recognize them as diagnostic tools, pointing toward the underlying issues your soil needs addressed. Instead of complete eradication, practice intelligent management. Allow designated areas where these beneficial weeds can thrive, maybe a corner bed specifically maintained for soil regeneration, or even pathways where clover can spread freely. Practice chop-and-drop management, cutting these plants before they set seed but leaving the biomass in place to decompose and feed the soil. The key is selective tolerance, keeping populations at levels that provide benefits without allowing them to overwhelm cultivated crops. These edible weeds aren't invaders threatening your garden. They're unpaid soil architects working around the clock to rebuild structure, cycle nutrients, support microorganisms, and create the foundation for abundant future harvests. By recognizing their value and learning to harness their natural talents, you transform them from enemies into powerful allies that reduce your workload while improving results. Now I want to hear from you, Smart Garden community. Which of these helpful weeds show up most frequently in your garden, and how have you learned to work with them? Share your experiences in the comments below. If you found this perspective shift valuable, make sure to subscribe to Smart Garden for more practical wisdom that helps you grow more while working less. Share this guide with fellow gardeners who are ready to stop fighting nature and start collaborating with it. Until next time, keep growing smart.